Using Creative Commons licenses and Creative Commons licensed works. In this presentation, we will talk about adaptations or remixes of individual works and collections of works. I will also address adapting and remixing Creative Commons licensed materials in the development of open educational resources courses. An adaptation or remix transitions a creative work into a new creative work, while a collection involves the assembly of separate and independent creative works into a collective whole. A collection is not an adaptation. One Creative Commons community member likened the difference between adaptations and collections to smoothies and TV dinners. Like a smoothie, an adaptation remixes material from different sources to create a new or different work. In an adaptation or remix, you cannot often tell where one open work ends and the other one begins. While this flexibility is useful for the new creator, it is still important to provide attribution to the individual parts that went into making the adaptation. In this chart, find a license on the left column and on the top right row. If there is a check mark in the box where that row and column intersect, then the works can be remixed. Go to the Creative Commons website for more information. If you make adaptations of material under a Creative Commons license, that is a remix, the original Creative Commons license always applies to the material you're adapting, even once adapted. The license you may choose for your own contribution, called your adapter's license, depends on which license applies to the original material. Recipients of the adaptation must comply with both the Creative Commons license on the original work and your adapter's license. When remixing BY or BY-NC material, it is generally recommended that your adapter's license include at least the same license elements as the license applied to the original material. This eases reuse for downstream users because they are able to satisfy both licenses by complying with the adapter's license. For example, if you adapt material licensed under BY-NC, your adapter's license should also contain the NC restriction. When remixing share-alike content, BY-SA and BY-NC-SA, your adapter's license must be the same license as the license on the material you're adapting. All licenses after version 1.0 also allow you to license your contributions under a later version of the same license, and some also allow ported licenses. The BY-ND and BY-NC-ND licenses do not permit distribution of adaptations, also known as remixes or derivative works, and prohibits the creation of adaptations under the pre-4.0 version of those licenses. Since you may not share remixes of these materials at all, there is no compatibility with other licenses. This chart details the Creative Commons licenses you may use as your adapter's license. Creative Commons does not recommend using the license if the corresponding box is yellow, although doing so is technically permitted by the terms of the license. If you do, you should take additional care to mark the adaptation as involving multiple copyrights under different terms so that downstream users are aware of all of their obligations to comply with the licenses from all of the rights holders. Dark gray boxes indicate those licenses you may not use as your adapter's license. Again, go to the Creative Commons website for more details. An example of an adaptation. Many political science textbooks require frequent updating to reflect changes in the political landscape. After the 2018 midterm election in the United States, this OER textbook, or Open Educational Resources textbook, was updated to reflect leadership changes in Congress. New information and a photo caption were added to the text. The photo was moved from another section of the text. This adaptation exemplifies a product in which it's difficult to see where one work ends and the other begins. the CC BY NC SA license was retained for the entire work. Like a TV dinner, a collection compiles different works together while keeping them organized as distinct separate objects. An example of a collection would be a book that compiles openly licensed articles from different open sources. When you create a collection, you must provide attribution and licensing information about the individual works in your collection. This gives the public the information they need to understand who created what and which license terms apply to specific content. When you combine material into a collection, you may have a separate copyright of your own that you may license. However, your copyright only extends to the new contributions you made to the work. That is, the selection and arrangement of the various works in the collection, and not the individual works themselves. For example, you can select and arrange pre-existing Creative Commons licensed articles published by others into a textbook, write an introduction, and design a cover for the collection. But your copyright, and the only copyright you can license, extends to your arrangement of the articles, not the articles themselves, and your original introduction and cover. The articles are not yours to license. All Creative Commons licenses, including the version 4.0 licenses, allow licensed materials to be included in collections such as anthologies, encyclopedias, and broadcasts. You may choose a license for the collection, however, this does not change the license applicable to the original material. This text is a collection of articles published under Creative Commons licenses. The materials originally crafted into an online course and licensed CC BY was turned into a textbook by the editor under the same license. In this example, we have selected and arranged pre-existing Creative Commons licensed articles published by others into a textbook, written an introduction, and designed a cover for the collection. The collection was originally licensed CC BY 3.0 by Saylor Academy and has been edited into a textbook and licensed CC BY 4.0 by another author. Each attribution should be included. However, this license only applies to the information added, not to the articles in the collection. If you are an educator, this information is especially important in adapting existing Creative Commons licensed materials into open educational resources content for textbooks and the classroom. The term open content and open educational resources are used to describe any copyrightable work that is either 1. In the public domain, or 2. Licensed in a manner that provides users with free and perpetual permission to engage in the 5R activities. So what are the 5 R's of open educational resources? To reuse, use the content in its unaltered form. Revise, to adapt, adjust, modify, improve, or alter the content. Remix, combine the original or revised content with other OER to create something new. Redistribute, share copies of the original content, revisions or remixes with others. And retain, to keep access to the materials after the learning event. The examples provided earlier in this video demonstrate why it is important to understand Creative Commons licenses to be successful in creating open educational resources courses, textbooks, and course materials.